I finished Clair Obscur Expedition 33 after about 30 hours, and I want to share my honest review. Now, I like to keep it plain, I just want to straight up say that this game has a lot of strong parts that stuck with me after the credits, and a handful of problems that never quite went away. Now, if you want the short idea, great presentation, excellent soundtrack, satisfying combat, and real character work, but some annoying platforming, a messy UI, somewhat of a linear world, I'll explain a lot more about that, an occasional story confusion, exploration stuff, and some all-feeling dialogue moments. Now, first a look at the presentation. The game runs on Unreal Engine 5, and it shows. Textures, lighting, and especially the motion capture animation makes characters feel alive. Cutscenes hit because faces move well and the voice acting is strong. You can tell the direction of the performance took care. The art style is stylized but modern, it gives the game a clearer personality and keeps it from just trying to be photoreal. The little set pieces often feel cinematic without getting in the way of the action. The soundtrack is memorable, it's loud, it's powerful, and when it should be, and soft and quiet when it's needed. The music helps the emotional moments land, and some tracks stayed with me long after I stopped playing. The sound plus this visual design creates a strong atmosphere. Even small rooms or brief scenes felt full because of the music and the sound design. Combat is the main reason I kept playing. It mixes turn-based structure with active timing actions. Parrying and dodging matter, and they're not just menu options, but timed actions you perform in the fight. Special abilities, resources, and positioning adds layers so fights stay interesting. Boss fights make you learn patterns and adapt instead of a mindless button mashing. Over 30 hours I tested different builds and the systems remained as satisfying. The combat feels polished and rewarding when you put it in time to learn it. The story and the characters are another strong point. The narrative touches on a heavy theme like mortality and grief, and many scenes land emotionally. The writing often does a good job, and the voice work and motion capture helps sell those moments. Side characters aren't throwaways, minor NPCs usually have clear motives and small character arcs, which makes side quests feel meaningful. When the story works, it hits hard and stays with you. But the game isn't exactly perfect. Platforming is a real weak spot. Jumps can feel weak or imprecise, and there's no strong grab mechanic. So moving up and down areas can be quite annoying. A few sections dragged because the platforming felt kind of, finicky or awkward. If you don't like clumsy jumps, this will frustrate you. One of the moments I noticed that the character, whenever he drops down, and it's relatively high but it's definitely manageable, the character always kind of rolls. It gets frustrating because anytime when you see it, okay, he should not be rolling now, but no, he just stops and he still rolls. It just slows down the momentum at that moment. Now the UI and the menus need work as well. Inventory screens, list of items, and the way bonuses are shown can feel cluttered. Finding the right upgrade or tracking bonuses sometimes takes more time than it should. The system works, but the layout could be clearer and faster to use. And the game's design is mostly linear. Let me explain about that. That keeps the story, tight and removes the need for a minimap, but it also limits how free you feel to explore. If you like open world or wide open freedom and random discoveries, this game can feel a bit boxed in. For me, it was kind of mixed. The focus helps the narrative, but it also stops you from wandering and finding truly surprising things. And now, this is important, and I don't believe this is a technical problem, but I feel like it's the design choice that they went with. Maybe there's some kind of limitation. I'm talking about the clipping, I'm talking about the limitations and the restrictions. Whenever you're as a character passing through some sections, you always notice that, okay, I want to go in that direction, but you cannot because there's an invisible wall. That's fine. But anytime there's a small platform or small hill or small rock, you cannot stumble, you stop, and you have a moment of that. And it frustrates me a little bit because I noticed that it happens way too often. There's also, I'm not sure, a dialogue skip issue that felt outdated. Some conversations moments are long and static, like old RPGs. You can skip them manually or turn on the auto skip, but even with the auto skip they often feel stale and oddly paced. It took me out of the scene a few times. Maybe this is a genre thing and some players won't mind, but it felt like an old design choice in a game that otherwise tries to feel modern. The story delivery is perhaps sometimes uneven. Mostly it's strong and respectful of its themes, but a few plot beats felt kind of vague or disorganized. Pacing can dip, and some threads get kind of rushed or not fully explained. The ending gives emotional payoff for sure, but a couple of plot points could have used more time. That unevenness kept the story from being perfect, but the key emotional moments still worked for me. Now the side content is mostly good. Many side quests do more than give you fetch quest tasks. They expand character backgrounds and the world. These smaller stories are often better written than you might expect. Still, the platforming and UI hurt the fun of chasing some side tasks. If traversal felt snappier and menus were clearer, I think I'd have more fun with them. And actually, regarding the side content, and it actually integrates nicely into the main story as well, there are moments when you can have a conversation with your characters and friends that they're traveling with you, and it feels very disjointed. For example, during the story moment, something was depressing or something was awful, or maybe there was a betrayal. The characters, they portray that. That's understandable. But when you continue on to the conversation, there are moments, for example, that they're just having a genuine laughter, they're having a fun moment all together. And it's just like a split second of emotional difference. It really was like, oh my god, this was not exactly thought out, was it? Now the difficulty and accessibility, I think they're handled well. Combat rewards skill and practice, but isn't exactly, punishing. There are difficulty settings and systems to tune the game if you want perhaps less challenge. Parry windows and dodge timing feel fair. They're skillful, but not, they're not cruel. If you enjoyed learning enemy patterns and building a setup that works for you, the game stays interesting. If you want to play more casually, the options let you ease up. And then the replay value I think is personally decent. Different builds and character interactions give you reason to replay or try new strategies. Because the game structure is linear, the sense of discovery is smaller on a second run than it would be in a full open world title. But mechanics and characters still make another playthrough worth trying if you like experimenting. Overall, after 30 hours, I think Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a memorable game with real highs and fixable lows. It shines in presentation, soundtrack, combat, and character work, and the main problem is that awkward platforming and messy UI, somewhat of a weird design that limits the freedom, and occasional story disorganization like mentioned, and also that roaming jank that dialogue moment. And regarding the dialogue moment, I should have expanded on that a little bit. I'm referring to when there's a little bit of those weird pauses that the character has when they're having a conversation. You have a conversation and you pause. Then you continue on with a different character. It's just like, that's a very old style JRPG. I don't believe it really works here, at least not anymore. Maybe it's a design choice, I do not know, but I feel like I got pulled out of the experience because of that. But if you care, mostly about the visuals, the strong music that got here, my goodness, is incredible, and a deep combat, you'll definitely enjoy this. And if you don't like that kind of clumsy traversal, menu headaches, or old-style dialogue pacing, you'll probably notice and get annoyed in places. I think my recommendation, play it if you like that kind of a tight, rewarding combat and a strong presentation, but expect few rough edges. But know that many of the problems, I think, that are not really gonna ruin your experience with this game. Either way, this game has those moments that really will stick with you, and I can definitely see why people say that this is definitely a Game of the Year nomination, perhaps even the winner. Honestly, I'll say yeah, it definitely deserves the nomination. I do not know if it would be my top pick in terms of the Game of the Year. Well, other than that, tell me down in the comments as well, what did you think about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and have you played it? Have you tried it out at least? Maybe you're considering it. My advice? Yes, do give it a shot. It's a fantastic game. Well, other than that, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys all, and have a wonderful day.